just got the first copy of my book.
Prior to entry,
And be hosted by Legal Immigration Services.
guys, how are you? It's Brett Miller here from Legal.
Fantastic service, fantastic. Always recommend me.
Guys, how are you?
Always recommend.
Hi guys, today we're going to dive into a topic and we're going to talk about an employment reference letter for immigration purposes. So first off, why do you need an employment reference letter and why do you need one for express entry as an example? Well, you know what? Proof of work experience is key for any economic immigration application. You know, this is what the program is built around. So you have to ensure that you meet the requirements of the program first and foremost. So for instance, in the FSW program, you need 1 year of skilled work experience. This is necessary to show that you actually qualify for the program. And 1 year is actually the minimum that you need. If you have more under express entry, FSW, it actually works to your benefit. So what should be included in the letter? Should be from an employer. Okay, that's pretty obvious. An official document printed on company letterhead. And it's also got to include these following elements. The applicant's name, that's you, okay? The company's contact information, address, phone number, email address, the title and signature of the immediate supervisor at the company or somebody from the HR department. And you have to indicate all the positions you've held while employed at that particular employer. You have to show the job duties, the title, the status, the dates worked with the company, and the number of hours worked per week, and also annual salary plus benefits. Now, those are some of the key things that you need. How are you going to ask your employer for this letter? Well, I would suggest that you speak to your direct supervisor, your HR rep, even the owner of the company or your manager, and just let them know what you're doing. Give them enough time to write the letter so you can get it organized. That's key, right off the bat. Write the letter for them and have them sign it, okay? Now, don't write something that's actually not going to be true or not true or whatever. Don't make stuff up. But write them a letter, help them out, because you're going to actually have to use different formats. Draft the outline, give it to them, and just say, this is the format that immigration wants it in. Is this okay? And this is representative of the duties, et cetera, et cetera. That's a really good strategy. So when are you going to do this letter? Well, you're going to have to fill out the employment letter, and then you're going to have to get it all done, and you're going to have to make sure that it's not done too far in advance from when you're going to get your, if we're using the express entry as an example, from when you get your ITA. So you don't want to get that like a year or two in advance because it's going to be out of date. So that's very key. So your timing's key, the elements of the letter are key, et cetera, et cetera. Now, what happens if you can't get a reference letter? What do you do? Listen, things happen. You might have a supervisor that no longer works for the company might have dissolved, or basically they might not even want to give it to you. So here's the questions that you need to ask. First off, do you actually need this work experience? So let me give you an example. You're only going to need 3 years of work experience to max out on your CRS points and also get the most amount of points that you need for express entry. So why are you going to run around and try to get like 10 years of work experience letters when you actually don't need them and there's no benefit? And quite frankly, you're actually opening yourself up to more scrutiny and possibly doing more harm to yourself. So if you can only get 3 years and you can get that from one employer, do that. That's the best thing that you can do. Okay. Now, if you can't get this, if you can't get a letter from one of the employers, that's okay. You know, you can look at other pieces of information that you can get. You can use other work experience, but again, you can still max out at the 3 years of work experience. That's just one example. Here's the thing. If it's too difficult and you don't need to get it, don't do it. If you need the work experience, now that's a different story. You might need to substitute some stuff for the employment letter with other proof of employment. Now, some of the things that you can do is you can submit as much as possible. You might want to submit a letter stating that you cannot get the letter, you did your best, or maybe an affidavit to that. You might want to put in some supporting documentation such as an employment verification letter or a job offer letter, a contract, an offer of employment, pay stubs, income tax payments, et cetera, et cetera. But I got to tell you, when I've had this situation in past, and if I'm not submitting the reference letter, it's really up to the discretion of the officer if they're going to allow this to work, because that actually is the requirements. And I would strongly suggest that you actually figure this out and make sure that you can get it together. I'll tell you this, I've had this a few times in my career, and as I said, it makes me really super nervous, but I've been able to navigate it successfully with a lot of other documentation. Another common issue that we've seen is that when you're dealing with a larger company, such as larger accounting companies or whatnot, as an example, they tend to have very established form and templated letters, and they don't generally deviate from those. And there's good reason. Outside of what happens in immigration, there's employment law, and they have standardized processes that they want to follow. So there's ramifications for them for actually giving different types of letters that they're not allowed to give, for instance, right? So why are they going to do that? They're not making the immigration application to the immigration department, so they're like, listen, this is what we're going to provide, and that's all they're going to do. I've been a little crafty, if you will, and I've actually emailed the HR supervisor as an example, and I've said to them, hey, listen, client's going through, they're doing the stuff for immigration, they need this type of letter with these elements, are you able to do it? And they said, no, this is the form letter that we want. Great, I'm going to submit that email with the package, because it actually is a really good piece of proof showing that they've made best efforts. What I like to say to the person, the officer that's actually going through the application and looking at this, and I like to tell them, I like to say, listen, the employer who you're asking this letter from, is not party to this application. They have no vested interest in it. And while my client's in the middle of this, he or she did have the work experience, and here's all of the other documentation that they have. So please take this into consideration and go from there. So these are some things for you to think about, especially when it comes to employment letters and when maybe you struggle to get them. But if you have this issue, please feel free to reach out, and we'll be more than happy to help you out. We have some other great videos with respect to the Federal Skilled Worker Program or Express Entry if you want to take a look at those. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, and we'll see you soon.